Good morning, everybody. This is Dee Reinhardt with Illinois WorkNet. Today we're going to be talking about digital badges and how you can earn them so that you can get a competitive edge. We're going to find out how you can earn them, how to present them to potential employers, and how to display them as well. This morning, our guest speaker is Norma Nerstrom. She is the Manager for Career Training and Continuing Education at Harper College, which is located in suburban Chicago. I think it's actually Palatine. Is that right,
Yes,
Norma?
that's
All right.
correct.
So, Norma, would you like to tell the audience just a little bit about you?
Sure. I have actually been at Harper College for 15 years, and I manage the career programs for our continuing education division. And in that role, we've recently become very interested in digital badges, and so that's really where my background comes from.
Great, great. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to accomplish today. We're going to define what digital badges are for the audience. We're going to describe their usefulness. We're going to talk about the components of them, and then we're going to discuss how you can either earn them, or if you are a business or a training institute, how you might be able to offer them. And then we're going to also provide some references for some more details down the road. So let's get started with our presentation. And Norma, what do you think?
Well, I think digital badges are the wave of the future, and I think we are all very lucky to be on that kind of cutting edge of it. I have read that it's been predicted that soon that really resumes are going to be a thing of the past, and everything that we have learned is going to be offered to others digitally so that we can access them anywhere, anytime. And we do a lot of that already with what we do with our cell phones and our tablets and all of that. But learning really has not been offered digitally. But now we are on the cusp of that happening. So it's rather exciting. Really what I'm going to talk about today is the fundamentals or the introductory pieces of digital badges, because they are relatively new, and I've noticed when I talk to organizations or I talk to even employees here at the college, people say, well, what is that? And so I'm going to provide a foundation level of it, so hopefully everybody gets a good foundation, and then if they decide they want to move further, they can either contact me or they can do some research on their own.
Right.
So actually, what comes to mind when you think of digital badges? Well, for most of us, we think of Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. We're very familiar with that. That's the younger generation learning, and badges for them are offered to validate generally skills that have been learned. But if we think of professions that we're familiar with, such as police or fire or even military, they all wear badges when we see them in uniform and when they're working. Right. But however, it's the gaming industry that has really brought digital badging to the forefront. The children and young people of today are really quite familiar with badges, even though many of the baby boomer or even the generation before them are not so familiar with them. And they've kind of grown up with the internet, and so there's been a lot of games that they've played on the internet, and badges are learned as part of that process. And it has actually made their learning fun and interesting, and it also demonstrates the ability, and it makes them kind of competitive with each other. And so we think that digital badges now coming to the workplace environment and to learning environments is going to do the same thing. Digital badges now are going to go beyond the gaming industry, and really that's where I plan to focus today.
Great.
So, whoops, what happened there? Are you clicking through it, Dee?
I clicked. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm trying to think of where we are.
We're right here on tribal language of digital badges.
Are we?
Yes.
Oh, we are. Okay. The tribal language, as we begin to really talk about the language of badges, I once had a professor who said to me, every industry has a tribal language, and it's something that I've never forgotten. I would have to agree that that's true. And I think if any of us think of our backgrounds, especially in the work environment, we all have acronyms that only our groups are familiar with. And when you're meeting with another group, it sounds like a foreign language. And so it falls into place that the digital badging industry is also developing their own way to express their message. And I want to go over some of the terminology that you will hear about digital badges, and if you research it, you'll read this over and over again. So here's a few things that you might want to become familiar with if you're not already. Digital badges are portable, and that means they're stored in an online tool such as a cloud, and that the person that earns them manages them and shares them anywhere and anytime, 24/7 from this cloud. So it makes them very, very portable. They can access them all the time. Badges are also very granular, and I have not seen the term granular used in other learning environments, but they are used with badges. And it really is signifying that we can drill down in depth to the details about the learning that took place. And that means that in drilling down into a badge, you might see things like the learning outcomes that the person learned. You might see the description of the topics that were covered in the learning program, and you might even see the expected outcomes. So there's a lot more information that's granular than what you can see on a resume. And the next term that you'll see all the time is the issuer. And the issuer is the company or the organization that is recognizing the skills or accomplishments, and they issue badges to demonstrate that somebody who has gone through that process has completed it successfully. And so schools can be an issuer, institutes can be an issuer, organizations, job training centers, associations, park districts, anybody who provides training can be an issuer. However, it's the responsibility of the issuer to validate the learning that has occurred when they issue a badge. So you want to make sure that you are issuing something that is really valid to somebody, both to the learner and to a prospective employer.
Can a library be an issuer?
Yeah, a library could be an issuer too. And I haven't seen any libraries that are doing it, but I'm sure there will be some that will do that in the future. Libraries offer a lot of free training programs, and they probably will issue badges to go along with those. And it doesn't mean because you've earned a badge that you didn't pay for that it doesn't have value. So that really has nothing to do with it. Like Boy Scout and Girl Scout badges, you don't pay for those, and they have value. So yes, libraries certainly could.
Right.
The other thing, terminology that you're going to hear is about a backpack, and they're also referred to as a digital backpack. This is the central repository where the badges are stored, and with what we commonly call a cloud. And once a user earns a badge and the issuer issues it, they take that badge and they put it into their own cloud. And then from that backpack, they can manage their badges, they can group them, they can set privacy levels, and they can share their badges on various display sites. But that is kind of the holding center for all the badges that they've earned. Another term that you hear is the displayer. And you can direct people directly to your digital backpack if you want, but you can remove your badges out of the backpack and you can put them on social networking sites like Facebook or LinkedIn, and you can display them on job portals. You can even display them on your resume if you want. And so if you sent it to an employer, they could digitally access it that way. And so badges can be shown in various formats at various places. Another term you hear about a lot that I can't really speak to, but I can just mention it, is OBI, and that stands for Open Badge Infrastructure. And it really is the underlying technology that supports the badges in how we issue them, how people collect them and display them. And when we put together a team at Harper College to investigate our badges, we brought in our IT department because they were the ones that could really speak to this OBI. Most of us did not have the technology background to do it. So you will see that, but you don't have to be a technology expert to issue badges. So keep that in mind, but you just need some IT people around to help you get to that point. So the tribal language is portability, granular, issuer, backpack, displayer, and OBI.
Great.
So to define digital badges, I would say a good definition is digital badges are a visual representation of what an individual knows and a means to demonstrate in granular detail the depth of the learning that was acquired. So basically, digital badges are a really deep look at the specific details of what was learned. And this is very important to employers because it's more than that flat piece of paper where they just list the title of what they've learned or a degree of what they've learned. It really helps an employer to bring in the candidates that seem most appropriate for the job that they're hiring for.
Great. And one of the things, because of the granularness of the badges, somebody can actually see as much as what the syllabus of the class would include.
Yes, and I'm going to discuss that a little later on of what they would see so we can get a feel for what you can put in there. You could put anything you want, but I'm going to share a couple of the things that might be appropriate to put in a badge if you're going to develop them. So
right.
If you're going to develop badges with your organization, one of the things you might want to consider is partnering with a key player. And you can do it on your own, but it really helps to have guidance from those who have been there before. And there are several key players that are in the marketplace right now. And this is going to help you provide the infrastructure for storing, managing, and sharing the badges. So the first key player is Mozilla. And they are well known in the badging industry. They were funded by the partially by the Gates Foundation. And anything you do with Mozilla, as I understand it, is free. So you don't have to pay for it. So that is a wonderful thing. It's an open badging system, and badging systems are considered an ecosystem because from the social networking, everything is kind of connected. So in their ecosystem framework, they provide the repository and the applications that will interface with the system that you have within your organization. And like I said, that's for no charge. Pearson is another company that's doing it, and they do it under the product brand name Acclaim. And they follow the Mozilla structure, and I think most other companies that come on board are going to follow the Mozilla structure just because it's easy and doable. But Pearson, through Acclaim, has developed their own digital platform, and theirs is very highly scalable. They offer a large range of services that companies can use, and they enable organizations to design and deliver digital credentials when you're under contract with them. There is a cost to the organization for this, though. They do charge, but they're very helpful in what they can provide. There's going to be other players that are in the market. There's several other small players right now, but I'm sure that once this really catches on, other players are going to come to the forefront. But right now it's Mozilla and Pearson under the brand name Acclaim. And so if you're thinking about developing badges, you might want to look into either of these companies or both of them.
Norma, badges are so new right now that many, many, many organizations are just now finding out about digital badges. So many of the organizations would not have a badge system in place. They would not have even an idea that there is a badge option. Is that a correct statement?
That is a correct statement. And a lot of the badging right now is coming from learning institutions, from colleges and universities. High schools are also providing badges. Some of them help high school students get into the college, provide a more detailed view of what they've done at their high school. So, but you're right, it is relatively new, and I feel it's part of everyone's job that knows about digital badges and is interested in it to help spread the word, because it definitely is going to be something that benefits everybody that's involved with badges.
Great, great.
So the structure of digital badges, well, I've touched on that a little bit. There is the issuer of the badges, that's the organization that stands behind the badge. There's the repository, which is the backpack, or also the digital backpack, and then the location for displaying them, which is like Facebook or LinkedIn. And these make them very accessible, and it makes it easy to share certain badges with only certain entities that you want to see them. You may have a whole host of badges in your backpack, but you might not want an employer to see everything that's in there, so you can select which ones and you can post them on these various sites that help you do that.
So that makes it, I'm sorry, that passport is an option for a displayer, correct?
The passport?
The passport program from that image was an option for a displayer.
Yes.
It was something that the school or the education place had selected.
Yes, exactly. So who can offer digital badges? Well, actually just about any organization can. As you mentioned, Dee, libraries can, high schools and colleges, park districts, associations. Companies can do it, even within their own organization, to motivate their employees. It could be a professional development tool that employers could use. They are really a way to motivate learners, to keep them engaged in the learning process. And it's a very satisfactory way when you earn a badge to want to keep on learning, and it kind of makes learning fun. So you don't need to have a license, or you don't need any approvals to offer badges, but you do want to follow the standards of your organization when you do it, and you really want to make sure you've put in a lot of time on the back end to make sure that you're validating good learning through your badges. But really, anybody can do it, and I think a lot more organizations are going to be on the forefront of it pretty soon.
Before you move on, we do have a question from the audience. Can they be part of a volunteer program?
Yes, absolutely. Well, you think of the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, they're certainly a volunteer organization, so certainly volunteer organizations could offer badges. Volunteer organizations often offer training for their volunteers, and they probably offer training for people that they serve, so they certainly could. I think that's actually a very good idea.
Great.
Okay, so the value of badges, let's talk about that for a minute. Really, I think the basic value is that they are evidence-based learning. It's more than just reading on a transcript or a resume that you've earned a degree in political science, or that you've earned a certificate in event planning. It gives you the detail of actually what you've learned. So for employers, badges display an accurate and verifiable snapshot of the skills that were acquired, and it really has more weight than a resume would have. And that's because they're granular and they provide that deep detail of the learning experience, rather simply a statement of what was learned. And also, I think because they're portable, they're readily accessible to employers, and really it's a thorough look at people that they're looking at as candidates, and I think it helps them select people to bring in to interview more easily. So I think there's a great value in them, and I think once they catch on that it's going to be, really an excellent tool. And I guess I would say, to follow up on what the value of badges is, they can certify and they can validate and commemorate the learning. This particular slide shows several examples. One is from the New York City Department of Education, and they called theirs Dig It. The other one is from the Smithsonian, and theirs says Understanding Astrophotography. And so you can see that you can design your badges any way you want. You can work with an organization that will provide you a template for designing them. You can make your badges look different for different learning, or you can make your badges look like a brand for your company and then just trade out what it states in the center of the badge. So there's lots of different ways to look at it, but these are just two. If you go online and look for badges, you'll see lots of different ones and how they can look, and it'll give you a lot of really good ideas.
Great.
So some of the details of digital badges, and that's what you had alluded to before, Dee.
Yes.
And some of the details that you might want to include would certainly be the title of the program, because that's very important. But you might want to consider things like what were the objectives of the program, the outline, and like you said, maybe the syllabus, specific examples of learning that somebody would be interested in. And by drilling down into anything that you have listed there, they would see it in more detail. And I'm just going to kind of, it's not on your screen, but I'm going to give you kind of an example. If you had taken a professional event planning class, you might see something like the list of the course that was taken, or the course number, the credits that were earned, that might be on there, the actual description of what was learned, and it might say that you had covered topics such as budgets or program planning, maybe a list of speakers, and how you line up speakers for an event, maybe how you conduct a site inspection, how you negotiate contracts, and that type of thing. It might contain the topical outline of everything that was covered in the class beyond the description. It might talk about how things were presented in the class. Was it lecture? Was it discussion? Was it media? Those types of things. And then you might also want to include things like really what the student learned, what were the outcomes, like facilitating conversations with stakeholders to develop goals. Maybe they learned to determine and analyze financial goals and objectives. How did they review a selection site, and what were the procedures? So you can really see the details of what that candidate learned to see if it meets the requirements of what you have in your job description. And you can even, I don't know, I'm trying to think out loud here what other things you might want to put. You might want to talk about class projects that were done. You might have an e-portfolio that somebody could see of projects that you had done. So there's a lot of learning that can be included in a digital badge. It's really, and this is based on the organization. The learner does not choose this. So the organization decides what they want to put in their digital badges, and then all of them, the badges that you offer, would follow that same format.
That's great.
So, and then you would drill down to any of those details. So who really benefits from earning digital badges? Well, in my opinion, there's actually no downside to the benefits of anyone earning or issuing digital badges. It's really, right now, the younger generation who is most familiar with badging through their upbringing with the internet and the game playing that they've done. And they actually provide us a good pipeline to broadening the scope of adopting digital badges, because they're already there. As I noted in the beginning of the webinar, digital badges provide job seekers with a competitive edge, and you had actually talked about that also, Dee. And for the employer, they really have a more streamlined way to access and hire qualified workers, and hopefully it cuts down on their time that they have to spend in finding these qualified workers. For the individual who just wants to continue their learning, badges are motivational, and they might even make learning more fun. And I really see it as now we're in the time to really broaden the understanding of badges, because they do provide value to the employer and to the learner, and really to the organization that's offering them too. And they're really becoming the next wave of credentialing, and they have strong advantages over the paper documents that showcase learning today, like the resume or the transcript. So beyond that, I would say, well, why are we doing this now? And basically, we're doing it now because of the technology. We are able to do it. The time is really ripe to create, um, issue badges and collect badges. And without the internet and without the technology that we have for clouds for storing them, digital badges would not be possible. And I think also with the younger generation already in the pipeline to adopt badging as a valid credential of learning, the timing now to bring badges into the work and learning environment seems very appropriate. These people are now, the younger generation, are coming into the learning environment. They've done games their life. Wouldn't it be great to come into an organization where badges were offered again as part of the learning within their organizations? And really it's expected that HR departments will become very interested in the badging because it allows them to be better equipped in hiring new employees. And it really shortens the hiring process, as I said, to bring in better candidates. And learning organizations might also consider offering what we call micro badges, which represent the various elements of the big picture of earning the entire big degree or certificate that was achieved. So you'd earn these micro badges along the way, and then when you culminated earning, the 3 badges or the 4 badges or however many modules were in your unit of learning, then you would receive the final badge representing the entire program of learning. And I think the micro badging is a way to keep people engaged in learning so they don't drop out and they want to stay with it because they feel they are accomplishing little achievements along the way to the big achievement.
Sure, and that makes a whole lot of sense because if somebody's going through a 2-year program and once they get past, a quarter point, they get a badge. And then so it's kind of like Foursquare when you become the mayor of a place. You've earned points along the way.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think, Dee, aren't we about out of time, or where are we on the time?
We're real close. We've got time for questions if anybody else has any additional questions. The one question that I have for you, are there any higher education institutions that you are aware of that are offering multiple badges at this time?
Yes. And actually because we are now in the process of implementing the badge process. We formed a team, we chose a vendor to work with, and all of that is now under contract. So we are planning to offer about 800 badges this next coming year. And we have visited Madison County Community College in Madison, Wisconsin. They are doing it. And I've also been in contact with Anne Arundel Community College, and they're out east. And I need to get in contact with them to learn more about what they're doing. But those are 2 colleges, 2 community colleges that are doing it. So there are some out there. The colleges that we've looked at, though, are not really doing it the big splash like we are here at Harper. Some of them are kind of just, tippy-toeing into the market and offering only a few badges for a few things. And we are really in continuing education going to offer badges for most of our career learning programs.
And Pamela Meyer also said that DePaul University School for New Learning is offering badges via their Center to Advance Education for Adults. So that's nice to know.
They are, and I think DePaul is one of the schools in Chicago that's also working with the high schools to bring people where they're doing something with the high schools so that if students are applying to DePaul, they're using the badge credentialing as a way of evaluating students coming in.
Great.
Yeah. So, I mean, it really is, it is up and coming.
Right. I could see a use for that just all over everywhere. Pamela also said that they are also very active via the Digital Youth Network with the Cities of Learning. So that's nice to know as well.
Oh, and I'm not familiar with that, so that's good for me to know because I need to learn too. So thank you. That's very good information.
We have the PowerPoint is in the file pod below so that you can download that, the PDF version, and it will have all of the links. And as we thank Norma Nerstrom for sharing her knowledge and education about digital badges, you can contact her if you need any additional information at the email address on the screen there. As we go to our closing pod, we do have a couple of links. We have the Mozilla Open Badges and the Pearson Acclaim. So if you want to click on those links, it will take you to the website in a new browser window. And then we also have links for Illinois WorkNet Job Finder in case you're looking for jobs, and Illinois Job Link if you need to find out some information there. Gail Banicus says, thank you, Norma.
Yes, and can I just make a statement real quick, Dee? I noticed on the email address that you put on the end of the slide, on my last name, the M does not show up, so it's NNERSTRO at harpercollege.edu. And I didn't notice that until just now. So don't put the M on the end of my last name if you want to contact me, because I won't get it.
So it's NNERSTRO at Harper College.
Yes.
We'll put this in the Q&A there for
And were you also posting the white paper that I sent you, or?
You know what? We will add that to the news article that came out. I had sent it along, and it looks like we missed getting that into the file pod.
Okay.
So we will post that with the news article that we put with the recordings for this.
Perfect.
All right. Well, I don't see any other questions coming up right now, so we will end our recording. You're welcome to grab those links out of there and watch the recording for future reference if you need that.